Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
The ring made no sound as it slid across our granite kitchen counter, but it might as well have been a gunshot. Sarah's fingers lingered on the platinum band for just a moment before she pulled her hand back, the gesture deliberate and practiced. This wasn't impulse. This was theater. "I need space, Marcus," she said, her voice carrying the rehearsed tone of someone who had practiced this conversation in mirrors. Not a breakup, just space to figure out what I really want. I picked up the ring, feeling its familiar weight in my palm. 3 years of marriage, 2 years of dating before that, 5 years distilled into 4, 2 grams of metal and promises. The morning sunlight streaming through our apartment windows caught the diamond, casting tiny rainbows across the counter where we'd shared countless breakfasts. "How much space are we talking about?" I asked, my voice unnaturally calm. The question clearly wasn't in her script. Her eyes flickered with momentary confusion before she launched into what was obviously a prepared response. "I just need time to think about us, about what I want from life. I feel like I've lost myself in this relationship." I studied her face as she spoke, the subtle makeup applied despite it being a lazy Sunday morning. The way she was dressed, casual but deliberately attractive. Even her posture was calculated, leaning slightly forward to appear vulnerable while maintaining eye contact to gauge my reactions. "When would you like me to move out?" I asked. Her composure cracked visibly. "Move out? I didn't say anything about moving out. This is about space, not separation." "Space means space, Sarah. I won't be someone's backup plan while you explore your options." "That's not what this is about." Her voice rose slightly, the first genuine emotion she'd shown. "You're being dramatic." I set the ring down gently next to her coffee cup. "Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, this looks like someone who wants to keep her safety net while testing other waters." The silence that followed stretched between us like a chasm. I watched her process my response, saw the moment she realized I wasn't going to beg or plead or promise to change. Her carefully constructed scenario was already falling apart. "I need to think," I said finally, standing up. "Give me a few hours." I walked to my home office and closed the door quietly behind me. Through the wall, I could hear her making a phone call, her voice hushed and urgent. Probably calling her sister or her best friend, seeking validation for her strategy. Or worse, calling whoever had inspired this sudden need for space. But I wasn't thinking about who she might be calling. I was thinking about timelines and logistics, about protecting myself from whatever game she thought she was playing. Because this was absolutely a game. The timing was too perfect, her demeanor too controlled, her reasoning too vague. She'd been planning this conversation, which meant she'd been planning whatever came next. I opened my laptop and began making lists. The first call was to my bank. 30 minutes later, I had opened a new checking account and scheduled the transfer of my next paycheck. The second call was to HR at my software company, updating my direct deposit information and requesting digital copies of all my employment records. The third was to Jenkins and Associates, the law firm that had handled the legal work when we bought the apartment. "I need a consultation about asset protection during separation," I told the receptionist. "How soon can someone see me?" "We have an opening tomorrow at 2 p.m., she replied. "Should I mark this as urgent?" "Please." By the time Sarah knocked on my office door 3 hours later, I had created a comprehensive inventory of our shared assets, backed up all my personal files to a private cloud account, and researched temporary housing options. When she entered, I was scrolling through furnished studio apartments. "What are you doing?" she asked, trying to look over my shoulder at the screen. "Looking for a place to stay while you figure things out." "Marcus, this is ridiculous. I just need some time to think. I'm not asking you to move out." I turned to face her. "What exactly are you asking for then?" She launched into another prepared speech about personal growth and finding herself, but I watched her body language instead of listening to her words. The way she twisted her bare ring finger, how she checked her phone even though it was face down on my desk, the slight flush in her cheeks that I recognized from our early dating days when she was excited about something. "You've already made your decision," I said when she finished. "This isn't about space. This is about testing how much disrespect I'll tolerate while you explore other options." "That's not true." But her voice lacked conviction. "Then prove it. Put your ring back on, and we'll work through whatever issues you're having." The challenge hung between us. If this was really about personal growth and finding herself within our marriage, She would have no problem wearing her ring while doing it. If it was about something else entirely, she would deflect. She deflected. It's not that simple. The ring represents commitment, and I need to know if I can make that commitment honestly. The ring represents the commitment you already made, I corrected. The one you're now questioning because someone else has given you a reason to question it. Her face went pale. What's that supposed to mean? It means whoever's been filling your head with ideas about space and finding yourself has done a thorough job. It also means I'm not going to sit here and compete for my own wife's attention. I closed the laptop and stood up. I'll be out by Wednesday. Wednesday? That's 2 days away. Space, Sarah. The kind you can measure in miles instead of manipulation. That evening, she tried a different approach. She cooked my favorite dinner, opened a bottle of wine from our honeymoon trip to Tuscany, and spent an hour talking about our early relationship. Classic emotional manipulation, reminding me of good times to make me forget the current betrayal. I participated in the conversation but maintained emotional distance, treating it like dinner with a pleasant acquaintance rather than my wife. When she reached across the table to touch my hand, I didn't pull away, but I didn't respond either. You're being cold, she said finally. I'm being consistent. You asked for space, and I'm giving it to you. All of it. After dinner, she suggested we watch a movie together, something we used to do every Sunday night. I politely declined and spent the evening in my office, researching divorce attorneys and reading about asset protection during separation. Through the wall, I heard her on another phone call that lasted over an hour. When she finally went to bed, I continued my research until well past midnight, building a comprehensive understanding of my legal and financial position. Monday morning brought the first sign that my strategy was working. Sarah woke up early and spent 45 minutes getting ready for work, far longer than usual. She wore a dress I'd never seen before and applied makeup with the precision of someone expecting to be noticed. Working late tonight? I asked casually as she gathered her things. Maybe. We have a big project deadline coming up. The lie came so easily it was almost insulting. Her company operated on quarterly cycles, and I knew exactly when their deadlines fell. There was no major project due. I'll be here packing, I said, unless you'd prefer I do that while you're home. The question forced her to confront the reality of my departure. You're really doing this. You really asked for space. She left without saying goodbye. While she was gone, I executed the next phase of my plan. I contacted our shared cloud storage service and discovered something interesting. Sarah had been taking photos over the past month that weren't in our shared albums. A deeper investigation revealed draft profiles for dating apps, complete with carefully curated photos and bio descriptions that mention being newly single and exploring new possibilities. The profiles were never published, but the preparation was undeniable. She'd been planning this space request for weeks, possibly months. The evidence confirmed what I'd suspected. This wasn't about personal growth. This was about having official permission to pursue someone else while keeping me as her safety net. I took screenshots of everything, saved them to my private account, and returned her device to exactly how I'd found it. Then I called my attorney and moved our appointment to first thing Tuesday morning. That night, Sarah came home with takeout from an expensive restaurant and wine on her breath. She was in an unusually good mood, chatting about her day with the animated energy of someone who'd received positive attention. When she suggested we eat together, I agreed, using the opportunity to observe her behavior. You seem happy, I noted. I had a good day at work. It felt nice to focus on my career for once. Another deflection. During our entire marriage, I'd never prevented her from focusing on her career. If anything, I'd encouraged her professional ambitions and supported her through 2 promotions. But now, apparently, our relationship had been holding her back. That's great, I said. Sounds like this space is already working for you. Something in my tone made her look at me sharply. What's that supposed to mean? Exactly what I said. You seem happier already. Confirms that separating is the right decision. She spent the rest of dinner trying to backtrack, explaining that she wasn't happier about being apart from me, just happier about having clarity. But the damage was done. Her initial reaction had revealed the truth. She was already enjoying her newfound freedom. Tuesday morning, I met with Janet Morrison, a family law attorney with 20 years of experience and a reputation for protecting her clients' interests. I brought all my documentation, financial records, property deeds, evidence of asset acquisition, and screenshots of Sarah's dating profile preparations. "This is very thorough," Janet said, reviewing my materials. "Most people don't think to document these things until it's too late. I believe in being prepared." "Good instinct. Based on what you've shown me, we can protect your assets and establish a strong position if this becomes a formal separation or divorce. The evidence of her preparing to date others while married strengthens your case significantly." We spent 2 hours developing a comprehensive strategy. Janet prepared a formal separation agreement that protected my financial interests while giving Sarah exactly what she'd asked for, complete space to figure out what she wanted. The document was generous but firm, offering her the apartment for 60 days to make her own arrangements while I established independent living. "Most people try to use separation agreements to maintain control," Janet explained. "This does the opposite. It gives her total freedom while protecting you from any claims that you were controlling or vindictive." Perfect. That's exactly what she said she wanted. When I returned home Tuesday afternoon, Sarah was already there, having left work early. She'd been going through my closet and noticed how much I'd already packed. "We need to talk," she said, sitting on our bed surrounded by half-empty moving boxes. "I'm listening." "This is happening too fast. I asked for space, not for you to disappear from my life." I sat down across from her, maintaining calm eye contact. "What did you think space meant?" "Time apart to think about our relationship. Maybe a few weeks of sleeping separately, spending less time together. Not you moving out and treating me like a stranger." "And what was I supposed to do while you were thinking? Sit here and wait while you explored your options?" "What options?" "You keep saying that, but I'm not exploring anything." I pulled out my phone and opened the screenshots I'd taken of her dating profiles. These would suggest otherwise. The color drained from her face as she realized what she was looking at. "How did you?" "That's an invasion of privacy. These were on our shared cloud account, Sarah. The same account you used to store our wedding photos." She stared at the images for a long moment before shifting tactics. "Those were just curiosity. I never published them. I never actually did anything." "You prepared to do something, which means you were planning this conversation long before Sunday morning. You wanted official permission to pursue someone else while keeping me as your backup plan." "That's not what this is about." "Then explain what it is about. In detail. No prepared speeches about finding yourself." For the first time since this began, she seemed genuinely lost for words. The careful manipulation and rehearsed justifications fell away, leaving only the truth neither of us wanted to acknowledge. "I met someone," she said finally, so quietly I almost missed it. There it was. The real reason for the space request, the ring removal, the entire charade. She'd met someone and wanted to explore the possibility without technically cheating on her marriage. "Thank you for being honest," I said. "It's not what you think. Nothing happened. Nothing physical. We just connected. And I realized I haven't felt that way in a long time." "With me, you mean?" "Yes, with you." The admission hung between us like a confession. She was right. We hadn't connected deeply in months, maybe longer. But instead of talking to me about it, instead of working on our relationship, she'd found someone else to provide what was missing and then asked for space to pursue it guilt-free. "So what now?" I asked. "I don't know. I thought you'd fight for us." "Why would I fight for someone who's already emotionally moved on?" "Because we're married. Because we took vows. Because 5 years should mean something." "They do mean something. They mean you should have talked to me before developing feelings for someone else. They mean you should have worked on our marriage instead of shopping for a replacement." She started crying then, but they felt like tears of frustration rather than genuine remorse. She was upset that her plan hadn't worked, that I wasn't playing my assigned role in her narrative. "I'm still leaving Wednesday," I said gently. "This conversation doesn't change anything. If anything, it confirms I'm making the right decision." "So that's it. 5 years, and you're just walking away?" "I'm not walking away from 5 years, Sarah. I'm walking away from being option number 2 in my own marriage." Wednesday morning arrived with the efficiency of a military operation. I'd rented a truck, recruited my brother to help with furniture, and scheduled utility transfers for my new apartment. By the time Sarah left for work, half my belongings were already loaded. She lingered at the door, clearly hoping for some last-minute emotional breakdown that would give her back control of the situation. "This feels so final," she said. "Space should feel final. Otherwise, it's not really space." Will you call me? You have my number if you need anything legal or financial. Otherwise, you asked for space to figure out what you want. Use it. After she left, my brother and I finished loading the truck in under 2 hours. 5 years of shared life reduced to a few boxes and furniture pieces. The apartment looked strangely empty without my belongings, like a stage set waiting for new actors. I left my keys on the kitchen counter next to where she'd placed her ring 3 days earlier. Poetic symmetry. My new apartment was a furnished one-bedroom in a building closer to my office. Sterile but functional, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the city skyline. It felt like a hotel room, which was perfect. This wasn't meant to be permanent. This was meant to be space. That evening, Sarah called. I let it go to voicemail. Marcus, the apartment feels so empty. Can we please talk? I think I made a mistake. I deleted the message without responding. Thursday brought another call, then a text message. I put my ring back on. Can we try to work this out? I forwarded the message to my attorney with a note. Documentation that she's now reconsidering the separation she initiated. Friday, she showed up at my office building, waiting in the lobby when I left for lunch. She looked smaller somehow, less confident than the woman who'd slid her ring across our counter 5 days earlier. You've been ignoring my calls. You asked for space. I'm giving it to you. That's not what I meant, and you know it. What you meant was for me to wait here while you explored your connection with someone else. That's not space, Sarah. That's control. I ended it with him. I realized I was being stupid. You ended it because I didn't react the way you expected. If I'd begged and pleaded and promised to change, you'd still be exploring your connection. She couldn't deny it because we both knew it was true. Can we get coffee? Just to talk? We can talk right here. People are staring. Then you should probably say whatever you came to say quickly. She glanced around at the lobby full of my coworkers and other building tenants, clearly uncomfortable with the public setting. Good. Public accountability was part of the strategy. I want to work on our marriage. I want to go to counseling. I want to fix this. Why? The question caught her off guard. Because I love you. Because we're married. You loved me Sunday morning when you took off your ring. You were married to me when you prepared dating profiles. Love and marriage didn't stop you from asking for space to pursue someone else. I made a mistake. You made a choice. Multiple choices over weeks or months. This wasn't a mistake, Sarah. This was a strategy that didn't work out the way you planned. So what now? You're just going to throw away 5 years because I was confused for a few weeks? I'm not throwing anything away. I'm refusing to be someone's backup plan. There's a difference. She started crying in the lobby of my office building, surrounded by strangers and colleagues. Part of me felt bad for her, but a larger part recognized it as yet another manipulation tactic. She was counting on my discomfort with public scenes to make me give her what she wanted. I need time to think, I said, using her own words against her. Space to figure out what I really want. The irony wasn't lost on her. That's not fair. It's exactly fair. It's exactly what you asked for. I walked away, leaving her crying in the lobby. Through the glass doors, I watched her pull out her phone immediately, probably calling her sister or her friend for sympathy and validation. That weekend, she recruited reinforcements. Her mother called me Saturday morning. Sarah says you've moved out because of some misunderstanding. It's not a misunderstanding, Mrs. Chun. Sarah asked for space to explore other relationships. I'm giving her exactly what she asked for. The silence on the other end stretched for nearly a minute. Other relationships? She developed feelings for someone else and wanted permission to pursue them while keeping me as a safety net. When I refused to play that role, she decided it was a misunderstanding. Oh, Sarah. Her mother's disappointment was audible. That girl's been watching too many of those reality dating shows. I have documentation if you'd like to see it. Dating profiles she prepared, messages about waiting for the right timing. This was an impulse, Mrs. Chun. This was planned. Send them to me. Her father needs to see this. Sunday afternoon, I received a call from Sarah's father. I owe you an apology, Marcus. I raised her better than this. You raised her fine, Mr. Chun. She's an adult who made adult choices. What can we do to fix this? Nothing. This is between Sarah and me now. She's our daughter. We want to help. Then help her understand that actions have consequences. Help her understand that marriage isn't a safety net you can drop and pick up when convenient. Monday brought a new tactic. Sarah sent flowers to my office with a card that read, I'm sorry. I love you. Please come home. I had them donated to the cancer ward at the local hospital. Tuesday, she sent a handwritten letter that must have taken hours to compose. It was masterfully crafted, admitting to emotional distance and poor communication, while never actually acknowledging the dating profiles or her admission about connecting with someone else. She promised counseling, date nights, a renewed commitment to our marriage. I filed it with my attorney as evidence of her manipulation tactics. Wednesday marked 1 week since I'd moved out. Sarah showed up at my apartment building that evening, having somehow convinced the doorman to let her wait in the lobby. "We need to talk," she said when I walked in from work. "Make an appointment with my attorney." "Marcus, please. This is ridiculous. I made a mistake, but I'm trying to fix it." "You didn't make a mistake, Sarah. You made a calculated decision to test your options while keeping me as backup. The only thing you're trying to fix now is the fact that it didn't work." "That's not true." I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots again. "These profiles were created over a period of weeks. You carefully selected photos, wrote and rewrote your bio, researched which apps to use. This wasn't a moment of weakness or confusion. This was planning. I never published them. Because you wanted official permission first. You wanted me to agree to a separation so you could explore other options without technically cheating. I wanted space to think. About him. About whether he was worth leaving me for. And you wanted to keep me on hold while you figured it out." She sat down heavily in one of the lobby chairs, finally seeming to understand that her usual tactics weren't working. "What do you want me to say?" "Nothing. I want you to go home and live the single life you were so eager to explore." "I don't want to be single. I want to be married to you." "You wanted to be married to me as a backup plan. That's not the same thing. So there's nothing I can do? No way to fix this?" I looked at her sitting there, still wearing the ring she'd put back on after realizing her strategy had failed. She was beautiful, intelligent, and capable of incredible manipulation. Somewhere inside her was probably the woman I'd fallen in love with, but she was buried under layers of selfishness and entitlement that I wasn't interested in excavating. "You can learn from this," I said finally. "For your next relationship." "I don't want a next relationship. I want this one." "This one ended when you took off your ring and asked for space to explore other men. Everything since then has just been paperwork." I walked past her to the elevator, leaving her alone in the lobby for the second time in a week. Through the elevator doors, I watched her pull out her phone again, probably calling someone to complain about my stubbornness or seeking advice on new manipulation tactics. The next few weeks fell into a predictable pattern. Sarah would try a new approach: guilt, anger, bargaining, involving mutual friends, and I would respond with consistent emotional distance while documenting everything for legal purposes. She recruited college friends to call me, had her sister show up at my apartment, even had our former couple's therapist reach out about emergency sessions. Each attempt revealed more about her mindset. She genuinely seemed to believe that her brief moment of honesty about meeting someone else had been enough confession to wipe the slate clean. She couldn't understand why I wouldn't accept her apology and return to pretending nothing had happened. "Everyone makes mistakes," became her favorite refrain, as if months of emotional manipulation and preparation for infidelity were equivalent to forgetting to take out the trash. Meanwhile, I was discovering what life felt like without constant emotional manipulation. My work performance improved dramatically. I started exercising regularly again, something I'd somehow stopped doing during the last year of our marriage. I reconnected with friends who'd gradually disappeared from our social circle, usually because Sarah had found reasons not to like them. Most surprisingly, I felt lighter. The chronic low-level anxiety I'd been living with for months, always wondering why Sarah seemed distant, always trying to figure out how to fix whatever was wrong, was gone. I hadn't realized how much energy I'd been spending on managing her moods and anticipating her needs until I stopped. 6 weeks after moving out, I received a text that she was dating someone new. "Since you clearly don't want to work on our marriage," it read, "I'm moving on with my life." I forwarded it to my attorney with a note about timeline documentation, then blocked her number. 2 months later, she showed up at my apartment one evening looking haggard and defeated. The new relationship had apparently ended badly. She'd been fired from her job for performance issues. The apartment lease was in both our names, and she couldn't afford it alone. "I need help," she said simply. "Call your parents." I did. They said I made my bed. "They're right. Marcus, please." I know I messed up, but I'm drowning here. For the first time since this whole thing started, I felt genuinely sorry for her. But sympathy wasn't the same as obligation. I'll have my attorney contact you about dissolving our shared financial obligations, I said. Beyond that, you're on your own. That's it. 5 years together, and you'll help me with paperwork, but nothing else. You ended those 5 years when you asked for space to explore other men. I'm just finishing what you started. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. Sarah had fought it initially, but when she realized I had documentation of everything and she had no legal ground to stand on, she accepted a settlement that split our assets fairly but required her to handle her own debts and find her own housing. 6 months after she'd slid her ring across our kitchen counter, I was promoted to senior developer at my company. My boss mentioned that my focus and decision-making had improved dramatically over the past year. 8 months later, I started dating Emma, a colleague from a sister company who knew nothing about my marriage or divorce until I chose to tell her. Our relationship was built on mutual respect and honest communication from day one. The contrast was striking. A year after Sarah had asked for space, she sent me an email. She was engaged to someone new, she said, and wanted to thank me for not taking her back when she tried to reconcile. The breakup had forced her to examine her own behavior patterns, and she'd gotten therapy to address her tendency to manipulate situations for validation. I'm sorry for what I put you through, the email concluded. You deserved better than someone who needed to shop around to appreciate what she had. I didn't respond to the email, but I appreciated it. Not because it validated my decisions. I'd never needed her approval for those, but because it suggested she'd actually learned something from the experience. 2 years later, Emma and I moved in together. She'd met Sarah once at a work event and described her as beautiful but exhausting. When I told Emma the full story of our marriage and divorce, her response was simple. Good for you for not putting up with that. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd reacted differently to Sarah's request for space. If I'd begged or pleaded or promised to change. Based on her behavior patterns, I suspect she would have interpreted my desperation as permission to continue exploring her options while stringing me along indefinitely. Instead, I gave her exactly what she asked for, infinite space to figure out what she wanted. The fact that she'd wanted to keep me as a backup plan while doing it was her problem, not mine. The morning she slid her ring across our counter, she thought she was starting a conversation about temporary separation. What she actually did was end our marriage with one calculated gesture. Everything after that was just logistics. She asked for space. I gave her the entire universe.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.